Hello, everyone. Welcome to the November 2024 koha-US Cataloging Special Interest Group. We didn't have anything submitted ahead of time, so does anybody have anything that they'd like to bring to the group? Oh, people are still joining. Welcome, people who are joining. We haven't really started. I just did the welcome message, asked if there's anything anybody wants to bring to the group. We don't have anything submitted ahead of time, so questions, quandaries, things you're not sure if they're cataloging related or not, because they probably are. Things you like about any new features or upgrades, bugs or developments you're interested in.
If all else fails, we can talk about authorities again.
Or indicators.
That's right. We
This
do
isn't
have
really.
oh, I was going to say,
Okay.
we do have something in chat. Has anyone used the bundles feature in Koha to create kits? How effective is it? Any challenges or benefits? We haven't used it. We have a few things that are containers with lots of things in them, and we simply have all of that on one item record. We haven't used bundles. Anybody here use bundles for kits or anything related?
What do you do with your lots of things in boxes on one? Is it on one bib record, or how do you do that? And what are they? Because we have some things like that are a big pain.
So since we're a maritime museum library, one thing we have is a press kit for the Moby Dick film that was featuring, if I remember correctly, Patrick Stewart. And it's one bib record that simply outlines everything in it. And these sorts of things pretty much go into one box with one barcode on it. And then I believe it might be the subfield 3 for a message if it's paged that says, check for all these items, and under the barcode, I handwrite how many items should be there. So if it's not checked in, checked out for library use only to record the local use, that at least there's visually something on there that tells the person paging it and reshelving it how many items to look for. We also have um, some things that are uh, for teaching, that sort of thing. And so I try to put all the stuff in one box or one folder. And our principle is the barcode is for the pageable or circulating thing. So if whatever's going to be pulled, that's the thing that gets the barcode. And then handwritten under it is how many items to check for. Again, we're very small. We can do this. It's very labor intensive. Well, it looks like in our group we don't have a lot of experience with using bundles for kits. So to get a broader perspective on this, I would say maybe go to the circulation SIG and ask, because even if you're not getting the catalogers setting things up, you might be getting the perspective of people using the feature who can hook you up with their staff who are setting it up. Also, one can always ask in the Koha chat on Mattermost, I'll put the URL in the chat. There's a lot of expertise there. And if you're new to Mattermost and you need any hands with it, let me know. I love it. I hang out there all the time. Also, we have our koha-US email lists, and there's the main Koha email. So Fred, I think if you're not still eating your lunch, you had something?
Yeah. Actually, ran out of water, but ran out of water. I'll be back in a minute.
Okay. Another comment in the chat saying that they've been handling the kits as one bib record as items do not get broken up regularly where they're in kits, but wants the possibility to break apart kits when the time may arise. Yep. I know that in the public library I use, sometimes they'll have some sort of a grouping, generic, local brief bib record, and then just have every example of it as an item record. And I could see something like that, like, you know, say it's a kit for, maybe it's a beginner D&D kit. You got your dice, you got some printed out character sheets, maybe you got your player's handbook, and you put them all in a bag and you slap a barcode on it, and that could have a very brief, beginner D&D kit sort of thing, and put on, the 25 or 30 that you have of them. So Fred, you're back.
Yes, nothing really exciting, but for those of you who hadn't heard this story before, or this bit of the story, one of the things we get at our medical library is the entire output of Rittenhouse publishers, which do a lot of medical books. And we get to use each one 3 times or 3 sessions, and then you either have to buy it or not have it anymore. And that's about 5,000 books, and they get archived and new ones come in, and I don't always get the notice. So I downloaded the entire R2 OCLC file, which was about 20 megabytes, and made a few changes. And in Koha, it's really hard to find these titles because it's either by title or not by ISBN, but there are a lot of ISBNs, so I'm not sure which one I'm actually deleting. So I tried using or copying in MARC-8 the 001 to the 952p. So it's a lot easier to delete things by barcode because Koha actually has that function. I only really did this a couple of weeks ago. I don't know how successful it has been or is going to be. I tried to upload batch and ignored duplicate 001s, but that didn't happen. I'm not sure why. So that's one of the next things I have to figure out. Well, also, I have this really spicy food. I love it. Oh, I sort of figured out how to use the desktop version of OCLC Connexion. Turns out there's a little chart you can print out that has all the function keys, which is very helpful. So it's not quite as intimidating as it was. That's about it.
That's great progress, Fred. I'll mention too that the 001 field is weird. It's a record ID field, and it, if I remember correctly, it doesn't have a subfield A. It's just weird.
Yeah, no subfields at all, and sometimes it contains backslashes, which koha does accept in barcodes.
We have some more activity in the chat. Brendan contributes, I'm not a cataloger, but have started working on a development to add the ability to have multiple fast add frameworks. And I was wondering if anyone has any input on how they would like to see this work with a link to bug 32773. Nice. And people request the link to the list of function keys for Connexion client. All right, we'll see if we can get that. While we're looking for the Connexion client function key list, does anybody else have anything they'd like to bring to the group?
I'd actually like to ask a question to Brendan about the FastAdd framework stuff. So the ability to have multiple FastAdd frameworks, we're going to use these for different projects for different groups. Is there a way to isolate a FastAdd framework to a specific set of users, or so that we don't have to say, go in and find your FastAdd framework, you only have access to one FastAdd framework, and here it is?
So the way that it currently works, it does not have that ability. That's a cool idea. Right now, it's basically the way that we use FastAdd cataloging is that we have centralized cataloging. So the catalogers out at the libraries in our consortium only have the FastAdd cataloging permission, and it basically limits the list of FastAdd frameworks. So users that only have the FastAdd cataloging permission can see all of the FastAdd frameworks that you add. But I think that would be a really good idea. I guess if it could be limited somehow, maybe by do you think by branch, or like how do you?
Well, so right now they have the whole, you can only edit items that you're assigned to a group. However they do that, we don't do that here. So, but you know, you're in this group, and so you can only edit items that group can access. So it'd be kind of the same principle of, we would add you to this group, and this group has access to this FastAdd framework or these two or whatever. For right now, we can just name them really well and say, this is yours, only use that one. But kind of the same concept of how we're limiting items. You can only edit or delete items that are within the group that you're within.
Okay. I can try to look into that library group stuff. I think that's a really good idea. That'd probably be good for consortium that have maybe lots of libraries and end up having lots of these different templates.
I think enough people have been waiting for a long time that we're going to want to use it and abuse it.
We also had a comment in the chat about, let's see, I just scrolled back. Here we go. Juliet contributes, they use fast added records for ILL, so it would be nice to have there be a separate fast add framework for that. So anything else anyone would like to bring to the group?
Well, I just have a question, continue on the frameworks issue. Is there currently a way to limit any frameworks to any specific users? Because I don't think there is. So I think maybe the first step in limiting the fast ad frameworks to specific users or specific groups would be to maybe create a way to limit any framework to a specific user or specific group. It seems like, if you're solving a very narrow range of problems there, when there might be a bigger issue with having some people that need access to certain frameworks and other people that don't.
That's a really good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, George, I think that's correct. And if the way that this patch works, I think it would basically just work if that limitation of any framework happened. It should be able to limit the fast ad frameworks in the same way, because the way to add new fast ad frameworks here is basically adding a column that says this column is a true or false. Is this framework a fast ad? So when you set up a new framework, you have a checkbox that would say use this framework as a fast ad. And so I think if we could limit which frameworks are available by library group, it would work also for this patch.
Okay, that kind of answers that question. And I'll stop talking now because I'm not a cataloger, and I'm just here to listen and learn. So
many people who are here do not consider themselves catalogers, but as we all know, cataloging can be thrust upon you.
I'm aware. I've been thrusted more than once.
Something like, ask not who will catalog the book. The cataloging has fallen to thee.
I was kind of thinking of Malvolio and Twelfth Night, some are born great, some are, the whole some are born great, some achieve greatness. I don't remember the exact quote.
And some have the greatness of cataloging thrust upon them.
I consider myself a cataloger in the same way I consider myself a poet. Except there's the word poetaster. I'm not sure that there is a word for catalogaster. I don't know.
Catalogataster?
So Vogon cataloging is what I'm hearing.
Pretty much.
Okay, does anybody else have anything to bring to the group poetically, prosaically?
Hello, I have something. It's about the 700s, when it's a 700 author title thingy-majigger. And it's a clickable thing on your record. Unless you put an I adaptation of work, then it turns not clickable, at least in our system. So it's annoying.
I'm hopping off right now to the MARC21 format at the Library of Congress. I will put a link in the chat to the 700 field that says, yes, there's a subfield I relationship information. And I wonder if in Bugzilla, if somebody has reported this.
I didn't know whether it's just us or it happens to anybody else.
We tend not to use the subfield I. we're cataloging pretty old. If with 700s, those are pretty much my AACR2 records that will have a note explaining strange relationship information, and then the 700 links, or we're using in the RDA records, we're using the linking entry fields 76X to 78X. So I will hop off to Bugzilla and see if that's there. And then Blaine puts in the chat, speaking of languages, has anyone had any issues with inputting non-Roman scripts into bib records in Koha? I had some issues with a bib record with text in Cyrillic, but wondered if that's a personal instance problem. I have not, but it's very important if you're importing a record to have your character encoding correct. Otherwise, like, some of our authority records got imported with the character coding incorrect, and so rather than Cyrillic or Hebrew, it's just a bunch of Roman capital letters, and I import those and overlay them as I find them. But if I'm doing some original cataloging or updating of a record directly in Koha, I've had pretty good luck copying and pasting. Has anybody else run across this issue?
Not per se. But sorry,
We
go
have,
ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say we have a lot of times it's because you didn't have the same thing setting in your export and your import using the OCLC connection. We've had that. And then I think with some of our records from Midwest Tape also. And I can never remember which one is which. So if it's not working, then I just switch it to the other one.
A few weeks ago, I set up a library in Thailand and added the Thai module and set up to use UTF-8. And all I did was set up the library, and they say it's working, so it is possible to do it easily.
Angela puts into the chat, we've been doing a lot of Cyrillic, Chinese, Arabic, etc. cataloging. We often use Google Translate to copy and paste the info. UTF-8 is the coding you need. Great, thank you. So far, I'm not finding anything in Bugzilla about the subfield I interfering with 700 author title fields. So that might be one way to, when I wonder, is it my system or is this general, is I will go to a demo system. For example, Bywater Solutions has a Koha demo, koha-US has a Koha demo, and I do some record editing on that demo system and just see if the same problem's there. We are hosted and supported by Bywater, so if I'm still not sure, I put into my ticket the information about my testing. Because there are so many variables, I figure it's not just, there's different search engines, there's still Zebra, there's Elastic, there's your magic of your XSLT and CSSs. And then there's also good to test this, is it the same behavior on your staff interface and your OPAC interface?
And probably everyone else has known this for a long time, but it took me a couple of years to figure out. You know those little black diamonds that appear in your OPAC or cataloging records? That's because you're not using UTF-8.
I'm going to go look at, I had written down our character encoding. I'm going to go look at it. Does anybody, while I go look at that, have anything else they want to bring to the group?
I just want to know more about character encoding.
I have a totally different topic I wanted to ask about. So there was a bug that we had an update with the 2405. It was bug 33960 using the REST API to restore a deleted bib record. And it was in the release notes and everything. I've read through everything I possibly can, but I have not found any instructions on how to actually do this. I found, the table of where it is in the schema, but I don't actually know how to go and retrieve that bib record or reinstate it. Does anybody have any idea? I have somebody at Bywater trying to track it down too, but it was like part of the release and then nobody knows anything about it.
Okay, I'll confess. It's the morning. I'm partially caffeinated. I'm having trouble following the question. Can you restate it again if you don't mind?
Okay, so one of the releases for the 2405 update was being able to use REST API, which is what we're using now to show all the items and everything. So it's not a real-time update, basically. It's using previous instances of it. If you've deleted a bib record, you're supposed to be able to go back into those previous instances, find it, and restore it. And I have read everything I possibly can, but I can't find any actual instructions on how to make that work.
Do you know where that original message that said that this was possible is? Because I haven't heard about this.
The bug is 33960. And it was set to be released in the 2405 update.
Well, sometimes when you release something into the wild, it runs away and you never see it again.
Okay, what was that bug number again?
33960.
So my guess on this is by retrieve, they mean you can use the API to look at those deleted items. Because there is another bug about undeleting items.
So not necessarily restore, just look at them.
Yeah, retrieve as in, yeah, look. That's my guess, but because in the test plan he's saying use the get URL, and that's looking at the API.
Yeah.
And then confirm you can search and confirm you can look at the deleted parameter, but it's not like the test plan doesn't say anything about bringing anything back. So I think it's like a step towards being able to undelete, but it's not fully functional. That's my guess.
Okay. That makes so much more sense. Thank you.
Now, Angela, there is a plugin by Inlibrio that you can install on your system that does allow you to undelete items or bibliographic records.
I've heard about this. We haven't had a chance to look at it, but yes, I have
There's
heard about
the
that
link.
one.
I just put the link in the chat box for you.
Excellent. Thank you.
I don't know if it undeletes the items, but it says it's supposed to be able to undelete the records.
That would be enough. Yeah.
So the bug I linked also, the last comment, Annika said that the Inlibro plugin doesn't work for 2405. So
oh no.
That's just heads up.
Oh, well, that's I bet that has to do with some CSRF issues.
Worst case scenario, if you can look at the record, you always do a screenshot, put it in again.
Right. It was definitely a step better.
I didn't say it was a good idea.
Can someone remind me where to set the UTF-8?
So if you're exporting from OCLC, either with a batch export or using the OCLC gateway import with bib records, the gateway import only works with bib records. OCLC connection client batch export works with bibs, and it's what you have to use for authorities. There's a setting in the OCLC options for record standard equals MARC21 and character set equals MARC-8. That's the way we have it, and it works for us. And then when you import a batch into OCLC, and it's like what file, you find the file, and then you tell it, is it a file of bib records or a file of authority records? There's a choice there to set it to MARC-8 to match the encoding, and then you have it correct. At least that's our experience, and you don't get those little black diamonds with question marks in them.
Thank you, Heather. I think there was a time back, again, it's been a while, when we set up EDI, and we're still getting some of those diamonds and question marks. And it was through importing records from our vendor. And so I thought there was a setting somewhere, like an admin or in Mark. I'm just asking because I'm forgetting now where that might be, if there is one.
In
I
Mark
set them up.
Edit,
Oh, go ahead.
sorry, in Mark Edit, it should be on that very first page when you're importing the file. If you scroll down, you should be able to check UTF-8.
And for those who are unfamiliar, MARC-Edit is third-party software provided by Terry Reese, but it's a great tool that many of us use, and Fred chimed in that he uses it to convert MARC records to UTF-8.
There's also a drop down when you're staging records using Koha's Stage Mark Records tool for character encoding. You can change it at that point. You can also change the character encoding in your Z target settings. So if you're importing from Z3950, you have control over that there too.
Thanks. So what you guys are saying, it sounds like, is you have to ensure that it's set to UTF-8 when you're importing. There's no automatic default, it sounds like.
In my system, at least on the Stage Mark Records for import screen, UTF-8 is set as the default. It's got the word default next to it. So there may be a system preference or something that controls that. I'm not sure.
Thanks, Jason.
I will chime in that I just searched our system preferences for the word encoding, and I came up with a system preference that says use OCLC encoding levels. My Koha catalog is set to don't display UC defined values for MARC encoding level and leader value builder for position 17. I have to say, I don't have that turned on. I'm not sure what it does, but I found it. And thank you, Fred, for the link to getting the MARC-Edit software. I agree, Fred. Put in the chat, if you don't have MARC-Edit, you need to get it now. It's incredibly useful. I'm a MARC-Edit newbie, and I find it fantastic. It works really well with Koha, and in the Koha manual is a section on using MARC-Edit with Koha, and currently one of my projects is I'm going to be taking all the content that relates to just MARC-Edit and putting that on the Koha wiki. And then the Koha manual will have the Koha portions of using MARC-Edit. And one advantage to that is that it clarifies what's the MARC-Edit third-party software kind of component of using it and what's the Koha side, but also the wiki's easier to update. than the manual, so we can keep it a little more current for the third-party software updates and changes.
I've been really busy with some other projects, and speaking of MARC-Edit made me think of why I wanted to come here today. I haven't been able to get MARC-Edit to integrate with Koha since our upgrade to 2405. So is anybody else having that problem? Are you still able to update records automatically?
I had never done that, but I had read somewhere, I think on the Bywater Slack, that there needs to be a change, maybe to like an end of line character or something in MARC-Edit for that to work. Let's see if I can find the message.
Okay. Because it used to be I would search the record, get it into MARC-Edit, make a change, and then just re-import it back to Koha straight from MARC-Edit. But now if I try and test it, let me see if I can get MARC-Edit up here. So I can search Koha from MARC-Edit just fine. And then if I make a change to a record, when I go to update the record directly into Koha from MARC-Edit, when I hit update, I get a message that says unable to authorize via provided username password info.
Yeah, I'm going to put a bug in the chat. I think this is the one that was linked to from the discussion in the Bywater.
Okay.
But I think it's something to do with authentication, that they changed something for security purposes and something else needs to be tweaked.
Okay, that sounds right.
And the status of that bug is assigned, so that's encouraging. But everyone, if this is important to you, add comments to that bug outlining how important it is, and that can help the developers know that we'd appreciate working on this.
Okay, I'll look at this. Thanks, John.
Does anybody else have anything they'd like to bring to the group?
Well, if you want something that will drive everyone away, I asked ChatGPT to write a sonnet on chickens. But Margaret, didn't you have? You looked like you were about to say something. Okay.
Well, we can always end the meeting early. We will be here again next month, first Thursday of the month. Go to koha-us.org to the events, to the calendar.
And if anyone wants to hear the sonnet, stay on after Heather stops the recording.
I'm in. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you, everyone.